Secret Woods, where there's a story in every bottle.
That's ideal, the ideal world. But no, it's the ideal world. I saw it when I knew I was going down there, and I thought maybe there's a risk. You're going to have to leave back the truckload here. We are live.
I thought we were live.
Now we're live.
Now we're live?
Now we're live.
Were we live?
We're live.
Of course we
live?
are.
No, we're not
Cheers.
It's Monday.
Let's ask our audience. Are we
We're
live?
live.
Is this live? We're live. We're live on your phone,
one
but
for
not
Ken.
necessarily here. Okay.
Ken, we're live. We are live.
I was just trying to confirm that.
Okay.
Quite
Because
sure.
today
not
we
quite
do
sure.
we do have a small live audience
Cheers to the live audience.
all the way
Here's the
from
live audience.
all the way from
Mass.
France.
All the way
All
from
the way from
France. That's right.
Matt and Lynn have joined us this evening in the audience.
Welcome everybody else
And
out in
welcome to those
the
out in the world.
internets. Thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. This is a special evening. We just released our Spring Wine Club, and we've been meeting all of our club members over the last couple of weeks. So they've come to pick up their club shipment, and today we are here to sample through all of the 6 wines that I love
That
this.
is so
We get to drink
difficult.
6
We
wines.
have to drink wine
I
again?
know.
What is
Another
that?
Monday. Before we do that,
But we're trained professionals.
if you're showing
Before
up
we
here
do
for the first time, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to our page. You could subscribe to our YouTube page. The subscribe button is right under Marika's computer, right down there.
Right
Yep.
in here,
Or
in
you,
this mess
there's
of
a little
cords right down there.
there's a bell on your Facebook page. You can subscribe on the bell. If you subscribe to our pages, every time we go live, you'll get a notification. We do go live every Monday at 5:30, but you may find us going live from odd places around the planet, like in the middle of a ocean somewhere, or on top of a mountain, or wherever. So please subscribe. And if you're here with us today, make a comment or mention something that tell us hello, so we know you're here in the comments. And if you have a question, please ask the question or share any thoughts you might have, and we will talk about that live on the air and try and answer
There
all
may
your
be a lot of
questions.
people out there.
There may be, yeah.
Hope
So
so. We've
I
been,
hope
we've
so.
been
All
trying
these
to tell
questions will
everyone
come
as they pick up their wine. I've been trying to let them know that we've got this going on, and a lot of folks maybe are still coming out of work and maybe won't make it home in time, but they can watch it after the fact. So even if you're watching later on, if you're not watching live with us, you can still comment, you can still ask questions. We'll get notifications if comments come in afterwards, and we can always answer your questions later on. So please still make yourself known, even if you're watching not live with us.
And if you like what you see today and you learn something and you think there are others out there that might appreciate it, please like the broadcast, share it with your friends and family, and let people know what we're doing, and others might be able to join us in the future. So with that,
And yeah,
With
make
that,
yourself known.
let's
Bob already
drink.
said that, but yeah, make yourself known. Let us know that you're here, and let us know what you're drinking. If you are a club member and you've opened one of the bottles that you got from your release, or if you're drinking something else, or if
Our
you're
live audience is actually
not a
drinking the
club
same
member.
thing we're drinking. How about
so this
that?
is an advantage. If you'd like to join us live for our Monday night show,
Yeah, come on in.
you are welcome to. We have a large space here. You can come join us and you can drink with us. So anybody out there who feels free to is free to come up on a Monday night and spend an hour with us, we always like a live audience. So
I mean, Chuck flew in from Dubai.
you're from Dubai. Our
They
live
didn't have
audience
wine
flew
like
in
this.
from France.
Came in from France. Yeah,
We're jet setters.
Yeah, I came in from Connecticut.
you did, huh? I came in from Samperton.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Ken, we have 6 bottles to try
We do.
through today, and you have selected one that we started with.
Lake House Red.
And is that what you recommend everybody if you're gonna go through all
Well,
6
I don't
of these?
think most people are going to drink all 6 in one.
No, but this would be the right order if you were to start with this one.
I think so. This is what I would do. I would start with the Lake House Red, then I would go to the Red Scare, and then I would probably, stay on Red Scare for a while. Maybe I might come back to the Red Scare again. Maybe I bought a couple extra bottles of Red Scare while I was there, and I, would open
Yeah,
up
some
those.
extras. Well, Matt, conveniently enough, is starting with Lake House Red. You'd think you just knew and was here with us or something. Christine has got strawberry rhubarb to drink along with us.
That's
we'll
very
be
good.
getting to that later
We are
on.
going to be getting to the strawberry rhubarb. That's in the kit.
Lovely.
So
But then after the reds, we're going to go to the sparkling rosé.
Before we get into the wines,
Oh, we just start off and then we're going to stop it? Okay, that's
no,
fine.
but before we get into the details on the Lake House Red, because we just talked about the order we're going to go in. But all of you who are members of our club also received, when you pick up your wines, our club book, which we send out, which the club book describes the wines in detail, which we're going to do in just a moment. And, but also in this book, we are giving you a glimpse into our future branding. We've been in the process of rebranding our website and everything we're doing for over a year now, but I feel like we're in the home stretch. But if you want to get a little glimpse as to what it's going to look like, the club book shares that. If you're not a member of the club and you're in the winery, we have extras. Feel free to take one. We're happy to share.
There is some fun stuff in there.
There is
it should
some
be,
fun stuff,
We've sort of been doing sort of a soft opening of this new
Soft
brand.
release or-
Soft release,
Right.
I think the first glimpse of it was when we released the Cirque du Strawberry, because that new bottle had
The new
sort of
logo.
the new logo on it and sort of some of the new graphics that we'll be using, and then we have new stickers
Yep.
available.
Chuck and I opened up a
and-
bottle of wine that had the new cork. in it
Oh, I
last
saw
night.
those downstairs. I like, they're very cute.
With
Yes.
the new
So,
cork.
little at a time, and as you know, we get new labels coming forward. We'll have some new things. A new website is kind of in the home stretch. It sounds like.
We have to start building it before we can say it's in the home
Oh, okay,
stretch.
all
but
right.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
getting
Little at
there.
a time. You'll see new things popping up here and there as we kind of do a little bit of rebranding.
what did Paul Masson say? I'll sell no wine before it's time. We don't do anything before it's time because our logo's a snail. Right.
Right.
Not about getting
We respect the long,
right.
This is
slow
right.
process.
movement.
And we're a
It
bunch
is-
of hermits. We like to hang out reclusively.
Yeah.
We have other things to do than just,
So I'll just take it back a whole step here too. Let's explain a little bit about what the club is for people who are not
There you
club
go.
members.
That's a good
that might be
point.
interested. Why do we have 6 bottles here? Why do we have a bag? Why do we have a booklet?
the club, actually have 2 clubs. The most popular club is our Classic Club, and it doesn't cost anything to join. All it costs is your willingness to buy 12 bottles of wine a year. And with that, you get some great benefits. Well, first, you get the 12 bottles at 20% off. And in addition to that, anytime you come in and bring a friend, you get to taste wine with us complimentary.
Yeah, two people anytime.
2 people
under
anytime.
one membership counts for 2 people anytime. And if you bring extra friends, if you bring a whole crowd of your friends and family along to the winery, anyone beyond those 2 people get their tasting at a 20% discount.
That's
too.
right. And so just that in and of itself is like a $40 or plus value
Right.
for buying 12 bottles of wine a year. So it's a good deal.
Every time you
If
come in.
Every
But
time you
can
come in.
every day?
Every
We
day.
actually
You
we had a
could.
club member
You
who
could
came
put us
in
out of business.
almost every day.
Could put us out of business.
It was thankfully
Matt
that
knows.
doesn't happen all the
It's a
time.
good thing
We
Matt
have-
doesn't live closer.
I was gonna say, we do actually have a few regulars. I know in the past, there have been a couple of club members that did live in town, and they would stop by every day after work for a little while. We had some people, and I know some regulars that come in, maybe not every day, but at least every few weeks.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
see them.
Oh,
and
sure.
It's really fun getting to see
I
these
remember
folks.
one club member I was doing a tasting at the bar, and he hadn't joined the club yet, and he was asking about it, and I was letting him know that you could taste wine whenever you come in. You could taste wine complimentary, and he was like, "What? You mean I could come in every day?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know that would be, really a great idea, but it is the policy. So you're welcome to do
policy.
it." And he was like, and his eyes just lit up. He was all excited about, and he joined the club, and he did come pretty frequently for the first
Yeah.
few months, but then he comes on a more
It's
regular,
sort of-
Yeah.
regular schedule now. But
because it balances out. We'd love to see some more of our club members here even more often, but so many people live further away, so they can only make it here maybe the 2 times a year for their club pickup.
Yeah.
So it sort of
So in
comes out
addition
and-
to that, club members get to join our loft tasting experience complimentary. They get wine tours complimentary. They get 20% off the opportunity to come and watch a show with us now that we have
Live performances right here.
up here. And lots of the events that we hold, not all of them, but lots of them offer a 20% discount to the events
Yep.
as well.
And you
So
get special access to sometimes library wines when Ken finds things at the warehouse, some exciting old bottles of sort of vintage
that-
Hermits wines.
that brings us to
That's
the
just for club
2-bottle.
members.
That's
Yes.
the 2-bottle club.
So
Actually, there's
we-
2 library wines
Yes.
going out this next release.
So our other club is sort of I don't want to say exclusive, because anybody can join it, but you do have to commit to coming here every month because it is a pickup only club, and it's 2 bottles every month. And right now, especially because that club is so small, we're able to put some really interesting things in
Yeah,
there. There's
a lot of
often
fun.
library wines or more sort of experimental things. for
Yeah, it's a
them.
little more esoteric. It's not the mainstream wine. So it's people that
There's
are
some
looking to
funkier
explore.
things, yeah.
And fun nonetheless, but different.
Mm-hmm.
And we have I don't know, 6 or 8,
There's I
9,
think 8 in there right now.
8 in there, 8
Yep.
members. So it's a small club, but one we very much appreciate.
Yeah,
and,
it's a lot of fun
enjoy
'cause-
sharing some of our special wines with.
Yeah,
so.
because
Yeah,
those
it's
folks
a
we
lot of
know we're
fun.
going to see every month, and that's always fun. I will,
Oh.
and even a shout out to, I believe, 3 or 4 of those club members are double clubbers.
Double clubbers.
Double clubbers.
So Matt and Lynn, of course, in our audience today, they're in both clubs, as is Tara and Rose Ferogi.
Gary, I think, is.
Gary and Paula, yep,
Yeah.
Gary and Paula Parker are in there in both clubs, so that's extra fun.
So
Um,
the other thing that club members get is the opportunity to access releases early. We'll release a wine. Sometimes the wines are in short supply, so getting access to an early release makes sure that you get the wines.
We have a few of
before-
those
Yeah.
happening right now
Yep.
over the next couple of months.
So the shipment
So-
goes out in beginning of May and then.
Usually
No,
April and
April.
October for the classic club. So you don't have to come here if you live far away. If you can't commit to being here a couple times a year, we can ship that club to most states. There
39.
are a couple of states, a few states that we cannot ship to, unfortunately, but most states we can. So if you aren't able to come, we will ship your wine to you so you can enjoy Hermit Woods wine anywhere. And even if you're a pickup club member, a lot of folks, they aim to pick up, but sometimes they just can't make it here in time. So we'll hold it here for about 6 weeks, and then we'll end up shipping it to you if you
Yep.
can't make it here in time, because we want you to get your wine.
So there's the club. And if you have any other
Club.
questions about the club, just ask. We'll
Mm-hmm.
be happy to answer them.
Yeah, there's information on our website and all that about the clubs. And it's been going, what, 7 years now?
Going on 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Going on 7 years.
Started
for
in
the Classic
2016.
Club.
Yep.
So that's the way it goes, twice a year in April and in October. You get 6 bottles of wine with the booklet and the bag. Some people recycle their bags over and over again, and they get a little bonus for doing that when they come into the shop.
Yeah, we realized, Ann Wickerham mentions that she said it's such a cute bag. She needs to get one next time she's here because Ann's one of our shipping customers. So when we ship you the wine, we don't put a bag in there. If you pick up
Right.
the wine, you get your wine in a little bag, but if you ship it, you don't get that. So if you are a shipping club member and you do ever make it here, you let us know that you don't have a bag and we will
Yeah.
give you a snail bag for
Just send
sure.
it back.
So Ann, next time you're here, let us know and we'll get
Right.
you a bag.
Right. So for us, it's always fun to think about what we've done in the past for releases, what we have that's available coming out that we'd like to make sure that our club members get, and also try to time it. You know, it's the spring coming on the summer here, so there's 3 rosés in this kit. And you know, you start thinking about those days in the afternoon on the porch or over the weekend where it's a little warmer and it's nice and you slice us some cheese, have some crackers, and sit outside with some friends. So there are 3 rosé-like wines in this kit: our sparkling rosé, our heirloom crabapple, and our strawberry rhubarb. There's 2 red wines, and one of them, the one we're starting with here, is the 19 Lake House Red. And this was such a really outstanding vintage, I think. I really like the way this came out.
I forgot how much I
And
loved this wine until we put it back on the tasting list.
I
this
made
week.
a big batch of it, and I'm down to just enough of the 19 to get it into this club release. So it's going to be gone, by the time this club release is gone. And in fact, there may be some people that join up for the club, let's say in May or June or July or sometime over the summer. They may actually end up with a 20 Lake House Red instead of 19.
Interesting.
We do run out of those and phase in the next one. The Lake House Red is a blend of 4 different berries, dark berries that grow really well in this area. One of them is a reddish berry called a red raspberry. There are primarily blueberries and blackberries in this blend with some elderberries. And elderberries give it this earthy, spicy sort of character to it, an aromatic component. And I believe in the 20 vintage, the one that's coming up, or maybe it's 21, one of the more recent vintages of Lake House Red now has black raspberries in it, because I have a local farmer that's growing black raspberries for me.
And
instead of red raspberries.
you've always been a big fan of the black raspberries.
I like
anyway.
black raspberries.
Yeah.
In fact, we have a new wine coming out that's made out of black raspberries and honey.
I'm excited for
That
that.
has yet to be finished off and bottled, but that will probably be out in July,
And what's that called?
maybe June. I think it's called Black Raspberry Mead.
That
that's
works.
creative.
You know?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, that'll be good. That's a good summary. You know, if it comes out right around when black
it's probably
raspberries
gonna
are
be a
in
little
season.
heavier and sweeter, so it might actually be a better winter warmer type of wine, but, you know,
But I feel like it makes sense coming out around black raspberry season.
yeah.
Maybe we'll be able to do a Facebook Live, a tasting of it when you get in a new shipment of black raspberries.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because wouldn't that come out around July?
Yeah.
Maybe around
No,
the-
the black raspberries, well, they're harvested at their peak ripeness and put into freezer bags and frozen for me. And so the gentleman that harvested them, Bob Perkins, he, at Autumn View Farm, he grows these fantastic black raspberries. He gets the guys to come out from the cooperative extension at UNH to look at his soils, to look at the plants, and they've never seen black raspberries grow so well.
Nice.
It's just a tremendous crop that he gets, and each year it's expanding. So I'm getting more black raspberries now
That's exciting.
than I need for my batch of red scare, so it opens up an opportunity to work with this fruit in other ways, which will be fun.
So this wine is aged for 2 years before you bottle it.
This
Roughly.
one's about, the red scare and the Lake House Red vary, but it's on the order of 1.5 to 2 years before it gets bottled.
And half that time is French oak.
And most of that time is in French oak with a portion of it held in stainless steel. So this is kind of things that I've read about they do in Chateauneuf and elsewhere in Provence. Instead of barreling down all of your wine, you hold some of it in a stainless steel cask. And that preserves the really bright fruitiness. But you don't get that rounding and softening and building of structure in the wine that you get from a barrel. So to get the best of both worlds, they'll often do this with red wines, and other people do this. And back in 2014, we did a red scare and a red scare oak. And we did them side by side, and then I started blending those and going, wow, I like this 100% barrel, but I also like this stainless steel one. What if I put them together? Well, now I got both things going on. So each year now, both in the red scare and the Lake House Red, I tend to hold some aside in stainless steel, and the rest of it goes into barrels.
It's interesting that doing a blend like that, like doing some that's oak and some that's all stainless steel, has a different effect than just aging it in the French oak for a shorter amount of time.
Right.
Well,
That's really cool. It
That's
makes
a
gives you
sense,
more
I guess.
good point, 'cause
control.
Yeah.
Once you put it into the barrel, you've got barrel influence.
Yep.
And it happens right away. Like in a week or two, the wines are tasting differently, whether it's in a barrel or in the tank. Same wine,
And
2 weeks later.
And you get more control, because if you overshoot the barrel, you've got some tank wine to sort of tame that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it gives you, not only do you get to create that nice balance between the fruitiness and the character from the barrel, but you also get you get to hedge a little bit. So if you over barrel it, you can bring it back a little bit. So.
Right. Yeah. That's good. And I I love another group of people that came in this last weekend who had not been in before, and they were just going on and on about the wines, the Red Scare, the Lake House Red, just talking about how they thought these wines were made out of grapes. And then they came to learn that, oh, you're not just adding a few blueberries and blackberries to a Merlot, you're actually making a wine out of this fruit without
realized that,
grapes.
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
this doesn't sit right. This isn't,
Yeah.
how does that happen?
Yeah. The aromatics on this Lake House Red with the berries is really just spectacular. I mean, even just
Yeah.
a little bit left in your glass is.
That's
just
where I
a-
like.
just
That's where I learn a lot
a
about
whole
wines. Is after the glass is
experience
empty,
itself.
you can pull out different aromatics. You can especially pull out whether or not a wine has been in oak barrels. You can try this with a Cabernet or a Merlot. You finish that wine out of the glass, wait for a moment, and then smell it, and you can often pick up that, oh, there's a smokiness from the barrels. So this must have been in the barrel for a while.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Just- it's
this
the
to
last
me
of it.
We know that bottle's not coming back.
Nope,
full.
that's it.
The oak barrels that, at least in my impression, that you're using on this aren't, full-on, brand-new.
No, they're
vanilla,
not.
full
They're almost
tannin.
all
You don't-
neutral now.
You don't get a big California vanilla experience with this wine. What you get is this really delicate, savory.
I'd say
Flavor of
you're
it.
exactly right. I don't
Yeah.
want to overpower what the fruit brings there. I don't want to have a whole
Right.
bunch of vanilla, a whole bunch of cigar box,
No, it's-
all of that stuff, which I know is really popular. People like that, but I don't really like that, and I don't like the way it hides what's there to begin with.
The
Right,
fruit.
right, and that's what's brilliant about the Lake House Red. It is just incredibly full of all of the fruit that's in there, actually. You can individually find them in there if you spend some time with it. It's really great.
Now we're on to Red Scare.
What year is this?
So this is the 2020 Red Scare. So this was made back in the fall of the pandemic year. And 20 happened to be the best darn year for wild blueberries on the East Coast since 2012. And it was just tremendous concentration, high sugar, high phenolic development, fantastic flavors. They were small, so the growers didn't like that because they had to put a lot more berries into every box to make 30-pound box. But we ended up ordering a second round of berries in 20 because they were so good. We asked our supplier to hold more, keep them frozen. We made another batch. I remember we were skinning up at Gunstock on our
Oh.
skis,
Yeah.
and I was talking about buying some more of these berries to make another batch of Deep Blue and Deep Blue Reserve. And so the Deep Blue Reserve is bottled, but it hasn't been released yet. We're on the 19 Deep Blue Reserve, which is in this kit.
With the reserve, you typically age 2-3 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, ages a lot longer.
So right off the bat, this wine, there's similar characteristics of this wine, Lake House Red, because there's similar fruit.
Yeah.
But right off the bat, the honey comes to fore. You can really get the aroma of the honey. And the other thing that I notice about this is the body. This has got it really coats your mouth differently than the Lake House Red. It's really got a nice body to it. And that's
Is-
probably the honey as well, is that?
That's the honey.
Do you know is there any residual sugar in either of these wines?
Anyway,
Residual sugar in either?
no.
It's interesting. Having them right next to each other, I always think of Red Scare as being a little bit sort of smoother with the honey in there, and whereas Lake House Red has that punch at the end. But when it first hits my mouth, yeah, I sense more sweetness in the Red Scare,
Yeah.
having them right next to each other.
Yeah, it's a
It's
sweeter
interesting. I don't remember that happening
wine,
before.
if you will.
Fruitier.
There's not as much concentration of berries. It doesn't have that deep, earthy elderberry
I
in
think,
there
yeah,
at
that
all.
elderberry gives it
So
that.
we're sticking here with
punch.
blueberries, blackberries, and some black raspberries. Small amount of black raspberries, and then a lot of honey. And it's the honey that gives that richness that coats your mouth. And there are also some complex sugars in honey that are not fermentable. So there's actually a higher gravity to the liquid. It's still less than water,
But
not as far below water that Lake House Red is or one of the other ones.
Yeah, and you're talking like 1/100th or a couple hundredth of a percent of sugar, right?
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
a very small amount.
Oh, yeah. It's,
I mean, a dry wine is classified as a dry wine if it's less than 0.9% residual sugar.
Right.
And this is in the hundredths,
Right.
maybe 200-300ths. So it's it's important to note that, because we talk about the unfermentable sugars, and it does give you the perception. People get honey on their mouth and they
Right.
they
Like, oh, it's a
perceive some
sweet one.
sweetness,
Right.
but there's really no sweetness
Right.
there. There really isn't. Not really to mention anyway. But it's perceived that way, like you said. You get that in your mouth, and a lot of people say that they get the Red Scare in their mouth.
Oh,
"Well,
it's
this is sweet.
Oh, it's sweet.
But it's
yeah.
not sweet.
That's what I love about this
Yeah,
wine.
exactly.
I mean, I can just drink a bottle of this any night.
Yeah,
It's just a really, I like all of the flavors, the complexities, but it's very nicely balanced and very smooth. And
This is
it's not,
It's a mellow, right?
it is a melomel, yeah. So that's a type of mead that's made with berries, with fruit.
this wine it's only, 3 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's already rounding out.
Yeah.
When we drink some of our vintage Red Scares, they have they start to round out. They start to smooth out as time goes on. That's part of what aging does. It takes sort of the edge off sometimes, takes some of that acidity down a bit, and this feels like it's already starting down that road. Imagine 5 more years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's going to be so perfect.
Yes. It is a problem holding on to this stuff. Yeah, exactly.
I can't keep this in my cellar.
Well, Chuck and I had a new bottle of Red Scare last night.
Did. Yeah. Oh my God.
That was the 21 vintage, which hasn't been released yet. And it was bottled on Thursday, and it was aged in a maple barrel.
That was last week's show.
Yeah, we tasted that last
That
week.
was last week's show. when
So
we
now it
tried
is actually in bottles.
But you guys didn't actually get to taste how I finished those wines.
Oh, it's not quite
So I
right.
have a little
That's true. We
trick up
got
my
the we got the
sleeve
little. We
when
just
I-
got vials of it.
When I finished the wine.
What'd you do?
So when I was first learning how to make wine back in 06, 05, 07, I was reading and listening to anything and everything that I could get. And there was this CD of broadcasts of interviews that somebody had done, it's like Winemaker Magazine or something, of the home winemakers that had won all the top awards across the country. So these are home winemaking enthusiasts working at small scales, making their wines. And so they had 3 different people on stage, and they were asking them questions about what they did. And one of the guys said, well, with my red wines, whenever I'm getting ready to finish it, I read somewhere that you can have sort of spurious sulfur-based molecules in the wine that detract from the overall expression of the fruit and the mouthfeel of the wine. And if you take a penny out of your pocket that's minted prior, a U.S. penny minted prior to 1982, which was still made out of actual copper, pennies since 1982 are not made out of copper. It's zinc. And so if you put one of those pennies into your glass and swirl it around for a moment, it magically makes that wine so much better. And I thought to myself, well, that's an interesting idea. So being the scientist that I am, of course, I took out some different red wines, made sure I went through all my pennies and found some pre-82s, and poured a glass of the same, put a penny into it, swirled around, compared them. Boom. Big difference. Like, wow. So when we started making wines, I thought to myself, well, how am I going to be able to do this on a practical scale? And I went to the hardware store and I bought a piece of copper pipe. And it's about 1.5 feet long, 2 feet long. And it's threaded on the ends, and I have little adapter hoses that connect to an 1.5 inch tri-clamp. And so when we were bottling the Red Scare and the Petit Blue Reserve, they came out of the tank, through the copper pipe, up into the bottler. And it changes the wine drastically. So I can sample it off the tank before it goes through the tube, and sample it after it goes through the pipe. Bingo.
That always blows my mind.
It blows my mind.
That small
too.
amount of contact with it.
Just for a moment.
A
Just
couple
goes through the
feet of
pipe.
copper. Yeah, that's
There are
fantastic.
people that you can take like copper sulfate and actually add it to a wine, and there are some limits because it does change the perception. But if you put copper, a lot of copper into a wine. It's not healthy. It's not proper. So, but there's a limit to that. It's like carbon dioxide in a wine. There are limits of how much carbon dioxide you're allowed to have in a wine.
Right.
Because it makes it better. It spritzes when you first open it and lifts the aromatics. And so the US government said, well, if you're going to do that, we're going to charge you more. We're going to tax you more if you have a certain level of CO2 in your wines when they're released. They don't even make a noise. You know, you do the screw cap and you pour it out, but there's a limit of how much CO2 you can put in that wine.
I remember when we were visiting with Jamie at Tamworth Distillery, he had his own copper pipe attached to a hose.
So I liked his setup. When he was racking his apple brandy
Yep.
out of the barrel into our Red Scare barrels. Oh, yeah, so Tamworth is going to release an apple brandy. It's been aging for 4 years in American oak, and they're finishing it. You know how some whiskeys, some scotches are finished in a sherry barrel?
Yeah.
Well, he's finishing his apple brandy in a Red Scare maple barrel.
So fun.
I can't wait to that.
Yeah, you should. If
But
this topic interests you, you should definitely go back and watch our broadcast last week. We got
Yeah.
in depth about all this
It
cool
was
barrel
great.
aging
He
exchanges
pulled
that we're
out a
doing.
pump. He was going to, we brought a barrel back from him, another apple brandy barrel.
You wanted to fill it.
And so he was going to take the brandy out of that and pump it into our barrels. And connected to the end of his pump, are 2 long copper pipes. Sticks one into one barrel, sticks one in the air barrel, sucks out of that one, goes into this one. And I'm like, well, that's what I need to make. I'm just going to create a copper pipe. And so he does that with all of his spirits, transferring them around.
We need to get on. We're already
Anyway,
halfway.
I'm
We're already
kinda
halfway
digressing
through. We've
here.
only done 2
I got
wines.
wrapped up in Red
I
Scare,
know.
you
It's
know.
well. There's a
Okay.
lot to talk about
All right.
for all the
All
wines,
right, here we go.
but
We
we do
can't
have
go
to get
back
through
to
all.
Red
of them.
Scare. There is no more left. So we
Right?
have to-
Yeah.
I know Matt's got it. It's gone. All right, so
A little bubbly.
A little bubbly.
and we pay extra for the little bubbly to the federal government.
Do we really?
Yes, we do.
More CO2. Remember, you just explained that.
We love
This
it
is
when
the
government has more money
20
because then they can do
20?
more good things for all of us.
That's right. There's laughter in the crowd. There's laughter in our live audience.
Now, do you pay a different amount based on how many bubbles?
Yep,
You do.
yep.
So I would think with our
Yeah, it's,
sparkling wines up until recently were bottled here at Hermit Woods, and they're just lightly effervescent. It's
Right.
not champagne level bubbles, just a bit. Whereas if you try our new Cirque du Strawberry or future batches, I
Right.
believe, of the sparkling wines, they're carbonated at a much higher level because we've contracted out with Flag Hill to do
Yeah,
that
it's like
champagne level. So
2.52 volumes of CO2 is the cutoff, or 1.9 volumes. The TTB lets us know, for sure.
but it is, you get charged by the bubble.
Yeah, charged by the bubble.
So Winter Versace Rosé, I have to say I love the label on this.
Yeah, let's talk about the
Really,
label.
Really one of my favorite
Yeah.
labels.
First off, real
Oh.
quick, so I can tell the
Oh,
audience,
please.
Ken, what
Can
year
you tell
is
us
this?
about this painting, Chuck?
Yes, because
Before,
Tell us about
before
that,
that,
please.
what year is this? Just so I can get that out to the audience while they're here.
This is
2020?
Should I check the book?
It's 20 or 21, but I think it's 20.
It's 20 with the sparkling crab apple.
It is
It could be, this should be
The
the
answer
20.
is?
It should be the 20.
Daily Double.
20.
Okay.
20.
Ding, 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 ding. 10 points to Ken, the winemaker,
Okay.
for knowing
All right.
what
So
year
now,
the wine
now
is.
Ken, now Chuck can tell us
Now
all about
Chuck
the
can
bottle.
tell us about this incredible
Beautiful label.
painting
Yeah.
on the front of this label.
Strawberry
Is that the
label.
original on the label?
Yeah.
Well, it's a copy of the original. The original lives in
Well,
my
yeah,
house.
it hardly could be the actual
Because
original.
it's really big.
'Cause
Yeah,
it's
it's like a
something-
lot bigger.
30
than
inches.
I
long.
just
It's a
ma-
lot
just
bigger
checking
than
in.
this bottle, and it's
Just chucking in.
absolutely a painting that I fell in love with when we had a show here years ago.
Why'd we have the show?
Stephen Hodecker was has a label of one of his watercolors on one of our other wine bottles.
On the still rosé.
The still version.
Still version of this, that's right. And this was his sister's painting, it was
Yes.
a little painting, Christine Hodecker. And it was one of the last paintings that she painted. And she was a very apparently influential to the art community here. She
Her and her
instructed-
brother.
And her brother, yeah, instructing people in painting and painting herself and being a local. This sort of seemed to me the moon and the sun and the colors. She captured that in a way that's really inspiring to me, and I think really as a matter of feeling, the painting is to me what it's like to be in that moment on the lakes here in the Lakes region of New Hampshire. So I just really love this painting. I really feel lucky to have this in my house so I can see it every day.
So she actually, she succumbed to a battle with cancer
Yes.
right before the release of this wine. And so this wine was dedicated. If you buy this wine, there's a dedication to her on the back label because it was a great loss to our town and to the art community.
Yeah, she wasn't old enough to move on to the great.
No. So her brother, the original rosé was a charity wine.
Yeah.
And her
right.
brother donated the use of that original label for our Winnipesaukee Rosé, and as part of the charity, he shared his and his sister's paintings for the release. So we had an art show here. At
Right
the
here,
winery.
right downstairs here.
Yeah.
That was great. They had the paintings
Yeah.
up on the wall. A number of other artists' results were around, and we have media there.
And you have the original Strawberry Moon, and we have the original downstairs of the actual label. We
Yep.
purchased the original label from Stephen
Stephen.
Hodecker.
Right. Which is a smaller one.
It's a smaller one,
Right.
yeah. But still a beautiful painting.
And we have a very large print of Christine's painting downstairs. Not the
Yes.
original, but we have a beautiful.
Yeah, the original here
large one.
was here for a while, but it gained a pencil mark on it from, I don't know how, but it was near a table.
With
and-
young children.
With young children, and that's probably just, when I bought the painting.
Is that why you don't
I
like
thought
kids anymore?
No, I love kids. I
Just
didn't-
not ones
I
with
didn't-
pencils.
When I looked at, when
Near-
they were
yeah,
they were
near
selling
nice
the
art.
painting for Christine's estate, I didn't actually look at the price. I just said I would buy it. And the day that I came to actually get it, I was a little astonished because I've never bought art that was at that sort of price point ever in my entire life. And to this day, I don't regret it for a second. It's been entirely worth it to me.
Great.
It's brought so much joy and pride, I think, too. I love owning this painting.
So at risk of this is a very, very valuable painting, and at risk of damaging the painting, we decided to create a duplicate of it so that we could continue to hang it in the
Right,
winery.
without
but
worrying about
Without worrying
pencil
about
marks.
Chuck losing his prized
Yeah,
original.
I don't think it has, I don't know what insurance would do to.
We did get the pencil off, so
Did
you
get
just
the
so know,
pencil off,
yes,
yeah.
thank
If somebody
goodness.
was
And this
hoping
is still a charity wine, isn't it? We still
Not
donate.
this one.
Not the
this one.
sparkling one.
The still one.
The still one.
This
We've-
is a tribute.
we've
This is a
raised-
tribute wine.
The still wine, as a result of that charity wine, we've raised probably close to $25,000 for local charities over the last 8 years.
It's good. Both of these, I think they're good souvenir gift bottles. They tend to be my recommendation for people if they come in, they don't have time to do a tasting, they just want to grab a bottle to bring home as a gift for someone. And I usually point them to the Winnipesaukee Rosé, partly because it's called Winnie Rosé, so it's a good sort of souvenir bottle. It has that beautiful painting and the story behind that, and it's just such a wonderful,
It's
easy
beautiful.
drinking,
It's-
crowd-pleasing
Yeah,
wine.
what grapes are this? It tastes a lot like apple. and
These are
cranberry.
rosé grapes.
Rosé grapes.
Yeah,
Rosé grapes.
Yeah.
You know, people have rosé plants. We use rosé grapes. We squeeze them and
Rosé grapes.
run off this
They
this
look a lot
juice.
like apples and cranberries.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you treat them nicely.
I love the story too that this Winnipesaukee Rosé, the original Winnipesaukee Rosé, was created because we came up short with crab apples, and crab apples
With
was
the-
our
which is what the next wine
next
is,
wine.
yeah.
But that was our signature wine. It was one of the wines we sold the most of every year, and we came up with like a quarter of the apples that we normally get,
Exactly.
and we were
needed 2,000
panicking
pounds, and they
because
like a 500 pounds.
our survival was based on the ability to sell X number of bottles of this crab apple, and we weren't going to be able to sell nearly that many, and we were really nervous. And
And a
Ken
lot
did a
of people-
Hail Mary, and he decided to make.
A lot of people that would get our heirloom crabapple wine go through the taste and they go, oh, I'm going to get a bottle of that cranapple wine.
Yeah.
Always.
They would always constantly, oh, I'll get a bottle of that cranapple wine. It's like, well, really? We just told you the whole story about the Dolgo crabapple. This is an heirloom variety of crabapple. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'll take a bottle of that cranapple.
So you went ahead and made a cranapple wine.
So I made a cranapple. And that was the,
And you didn't start with an experimental batch. You started with
550
550 gallons.
I did a full-on batch of wine without any precursor, any trial
Yeah.
at all. And that's still one of my favorite vintages, that
And
very
it's-
first vintage.
And it's become one of
And the
our
wine itself
best-selling
has
wines.
become an extremely
Yeah.
popular wine. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
fantastic.
it outsells crabapple now.
And it's raised $25,000 for local charities.
Yeah.
This was a win-win-win.
Exactly.
It really was.
So nice. Yeah, it's a little bit sweet, just a little bit, but not so sweet
It's,
that,
again,
too
it's
much.
a balance.
In
So-
a balanced
yeah.
sort of way.
So if you like a sweet wine, this might be just sweet enough for you. But if you don't want a sweet wine, it's not
If you
too
like a
sweet.
sweet wine, take out some table sugar and blend it in your
Yeah,
glass.
sure. Oh, Matt's having a hard time over there.
Come on, Matt.
Yeah, you could. But it pairs well with so many things. It's so good on its own or with pretty much every cheese I've ever tried it
whenever
with.
we do our food pairing with our wine, and we're all like, well, it's probably going to go fine with the rosé.
Yeah,
And sure enough, just about anything goes well.
yeah.
So
Both-
what's in this wine? Tell us how it's made.
This is made with a base sweet cider. So we get a sweet cider made from Apple Hill Farm, from Chuck Souther.
And those are made from apples that we like to eat.
Right, these are made from Macintosh and
Yep.
Cortland's and a couple other apples, high sugar content apples. It's drinking cider. It's a sweet cider that people like to drink. When you ferment that dry, it doesn't have that much flavor. So when you make a very distinctive, unique cider, hard cider, fermented cider, like they would do in France or in Spain or in England, you start off with sharps and bitters that have thick skins, and you end up with something that's very pleasing and flavorful at the end. But that's not the goal here. The goal is to provide that as the base, so we've got a source of natural sugar and the apples as the base. So the cider comes in. In addition to that, I get a bunch of high-quality cranberries from the Cape Cod area. And I get some distinctive heirloom varieties of cider apples called Kingston Black. Those cranberries and those Kingston Black apples get ground up, chipped up into little pieces into the cider.
So we get skin contact.
That ferments together.
Then we get
Those apples are also from Apple Hill Farm, right?
Those apples are also from Apple Hill Farm. Yeah.
That's a great place. I have to give a shout out to them. I grew up picking at Apple Hill every year for
It's such a great
it was
place.
strawberries in June and then raspberries and blueberries in July, and then we'd go back in the fall for apples. Every year I went there with my family, and so
Yeah.
it's extra special to me, and I'm so excited that
It's
we use
a
them.
great place.
Yeah,
And,
they've been around for a long time and do a really good job.
he's
We
in-
have
We have
a
an
question
audience
from
question.
the audience,
Yeah.
the live audience.
No, but I bet it'd be fantastic.
We
No,
may
not
have.
the-
No?
No, we've done crab apple.
We've done the crab
Definitely
apple.
done crab apple. I don't think we've done this one, but I'm sure it would be fantastic. Yeah.
I bet it would be
Anyone in
great.
the audience ever tried mulling Winnie Rosé? Let us know. But
So
it's
we-
definitely some audience have said, yeah, this is their favorite, and yeah, we definitely need to move along. We've only
Yes,
got
we've
15
got three more
minutes.
wines
Oh, boy.
to drink, and we
But I
don't want to
think
start
well,
chugging.
we've already talked about crab apple a little bit, so we can.
Yep. I
So
want to.
this is made out of crab apples,
wait.
no cranberries at all.
Just
in
before you
this.
go, Ken. Wait,
Oh,
commercial break. The little crackers that we're eating, Jack's crackers.
Jack's crackers.
Made right in Kentucky. Keene.
Keen. Yeah.
Jack's
Mustard's
crackers.
fun to cook.
Fantastic crackers. We sell them. They're wonderful.
And they
They're,
pair very well with the
Would
wine.
you like
pair
to have
well
this
with
carbonated
wine.
in a can? Would you like to have those carbonated in a can?
And call it Dolgo,
And
named
call it
after my
Dolgo?
sailboat.
Yeah, about that.
It's also named Dolgo.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
What a great
That'd be
idea.
nice.
You don't tease that. You keep
Funny, we
te-
don't have any
it's
more of that
tough
left.
to
Where did it all go?
teasing these
My
cans.
sailboat.
Do you know how often people come into the winery asking about the cans of Winnie Rosé and Dolgo? You've got to get on it.
I know.
Hopefully
You
someday.
know,
We'll-
Molten
we'll-
Farm has a few cans left of the Petite Blue.
Mm.
When Maya was doing a tasting there.
we actually we have a
ago.
few cans of Petite Blue. We need to
Yeah.
do something with
I
those.
think there's, the Samberton General Store still has some Dolgo cans.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for Red Scare in a can to go on the bike.
think you can wait forever, my friend.
That doesn't seem right. So our heirloom
Well,
crab
when we
apple.
get our own canning line, I'll can one for you without a label.
So
I'll stick one of
wine
these
number
labels on.
4 is our heirloom crab apple. This is the 2021.
This is a 2021 vintage heirloom crab apple. 19 was a gigantic year for Dolgo crab apples, and then 20 was terrible, tiny little thing. Often with these heirloom apples, they have a big
Cyclical,
producing
yeah.
season, and then they're off the season, then a big producing season. And 21, we had enough crab apples to make a batch of this wine again. In 20, we did not. We made only
Oh,
sparkling.
we just did sparkling, right? I
crab
remember
apple,
that.
And we had the 19 to carry us all the way through.
Yep. I remember that. I got to help. That was my first fall working here. I remember I got to help a bunch with
And then
the
the
production that
22,
year.
this most recent one that's still in the tank, well, there's some of it's in bottles, but most of it's still in the tank, is a very unique batch.
Nice, your best batch, yeah.
Really
Every-
sublime. It's really
I keep
balanced.
saying that, though, every
It's-
year.
It's lower acid.
Oh, really?
It's drinkable dry. It's really,
Yeah, we were chasing it the other day
Really
dry.
awesome.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh,
that's really fun. That's going to be
And
fun.
there's lots of stories about how we discovered this fruit.
None of which we
None of
agree
which are-
on.
And none of
We don't agree on them. I'd
true.
say I'm
You know,
because we
yours.
still have 2
Fact,
more
yeah.
wines, and because there are
Because
too
nobody
many
remembers
too many
exactly.
stories. I think we need to skip the story of the
remember.
origin of this one
Yeah.
because I don't trust.
I'm the one that bit the apple. so
I
my story is
remember
the
what
one that counts.
happened.
My story, you've been.
It was you weren't even there.
You weren't even there, yeah.
All right,
could I know
I'm
you did the
enacting my moderator duties. We're going to skip the story of the origins and just talk about this wine as it is now instead of the first batch.
So this is a great Thanksgiving one.
It is. I bring
Oh,
home the
yes.
I like bringing the sparkling version because
yeah.
it's Thanksgiving.
it.
It's a festive holiday, so I like bringing the sparkling home for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Do you know what
Yeah,
else?
we do
though?
both on Thanksgiving. Remember that? We start with the bubbly, and then we go to this with the meal.
And the other thing, on a hot summer day, this is a wine you can pour over ice.
Yes,
It's the rare
definitely.
wine that I would actually suggest you pour over ice on a really hot day. It drinks great because it can take a little water and it
Oh, it's
still
fine.
holds up nicely flavor-wise. So
Holds up all the spicy dishes too. We found, right?
you can make a nice
Just
slushy
like it
out
with
of
like a
this.
Thai.
It'll do Thai, it'll do
Yeah,
spicy
like-
because it has enough sweetness.
What
to
I
it
love about
and
this
spice.
apple is it's so appley.
Yeah, no,
It's
It's
delicious.
just
Right,
great.
just a bit
delicious.
tart. Yeah, this is the other one, like the Winnipesaukee Rosé. If we're struggling trying to pair something on our menu,
Yeah.
we've tried a couple other things. We're like, well, crab apple will work. Crab apple will work.
Yeah, I'd encourage you, all of you that end up in our club with these wines, or just come here and buy these wines, to try them in different settings, in different ways. They're very versatile wines,
Yeah, you just can't not like this wine. There's
especially carbonated out of a can on a sailboat.
No, I mean, just no, that's, of course, that notwithstanding, but this is just so soft and appley. I mean, I just want more. and
If you
more.
were there when we first found it, you would have really been excited about eating these apples.
But unfortunately, you weren't there, so we had to go ahead and make this.
All right,
without you.
moving on.
So strawberry rhubarb,
Strawberry rhubarb.
number 5. So now this, we'll have to sort of give this disclaimer, and I've been having to do this at the tasting bar a little bit. So whenever we switch vintages at Hermits, we try our best to make it a clean break. We make sure
Yeah,
the
this is the 21.
the 21 is gone before we put out the 22. But inevitably, there are bottles in so many different places stocked at the winery that inevitably there's a little bit of overlap. Some things get mixed in.
And just so you know, when you make
Oh, yeah.
a fruit wine, you're not allowed to put the vintage on it. Nope. Different wine.
So
We're not blending in this one.
So a lot of time it's not labeled on the bottle whether it's the 2021 or the 2020 or things like that.
They
So
look identical.
it's tough sometimes to tell, but with at least until you open the bottle. But with this bottle, you can tell. You can very much tell whether it's the 2021 or 2022, and you can smell this and know this is 21.
Right. The 21 vintage is more aromatic in the strawberry sense.
Not that all your strawberry rhubarbs are not bursting with
Yeah.
strawberry.
This is, the aromatics it's cuckoo bananas. This is really.
There's no bananas in this. That's a tropical
I
fruit.
thought
We
this
can't
was-
make
I
wine
thought
from
this was
bananas.
cuckoo banana wine.
There's no cuckoos
So
in
there's-
there.
so-
There's no
Well,
cuckoos
there's a couple
either.
cuckoos around. But
So we do know that in everybody's club bag and club boxes, it's definitely the 2022.
correct.
And what's on the shelf, the retail shelf now, is
22.
definitely the 2022. There's
This
a few
is just-
bottles at
There's
the
like one
restaurant.
or two of these left. There happen to be up here in the,
Yeah,
in
it's
the
sort of
fridge.
mixed in a little bit. But the 2022 vintage is much stronger on the rhubarb. And also, if you've tasted our strawberry rhubarb, the Cirque du Strawberry, that was all the 2022.
This is the
And-
2022.
No, what we're drinking is 21.
This is the 21,
I'm confused. What do the club members have?
22.
Club members have 22. So 21 was a little higher on the strawberry. You smell it and it whacks you in the face with strawberry. And the rhubarb comes in a little more subtly as you drink it, whereas the 22,
Right, when we were getting ready for this presentation tonight, Marika grabbed one out of the back over there, and she's like, I'm pretty sure this might be the 21.
is definitely 21.
All right,
Yeah.
well, this was a good opportunity to talk.
So don't listen
How
to
about-
anything we're saying about this wine because it has nothing to
We
do
can
with
talk about it. But it's just interesting to see that it
totally
does
fine.
change a little bit year to year.
What's really important
They all
about
do.
it is
All
sort of
wines do.
the aspect of what wines are. They're never the same, vintage to vintage. They're different. And then during the time as the wines age, they're different.
Well, now I'm inspired. I want to get the 22 out. and
I
try
know.
it.
I wish we had. So it was actually really fun over the weekend. We had down at the restaurant downstairs. We definitely had a bottle of the 22 open, and then over at the tasting bar, we had the 21 open. And I would pour the 21 for people, and then I was able to run over to the other side and grab that other bottle and give people a taste of them next to each other.
You know, the
so they could
formula
taste
was
both.
the same ratio of strawberries to rhubarb. But strawberries are different and rhubarb's different every year. And so I actually like the 22 better myself.
Me too. And it's
I-
fun
I
seeing
like
there.
that.
Well, quite
There are some
honestly,
people
that
that
balance.
like the 21 better. Some people are preferring the
Marika,
22.
you can't compare them side by side because the
They're different.
21 has aged for a year in
That's
the bottle.
true, that's a good point.
So it
That's
is a
right.
different wine just for that reason alone. It's got an ingredient that the 22 doesn't have.
Right.
A year of
A
age.
year of age.
We have a good question. So we touched on this briefly, and we can
And there are
probably
actually
answer it
two
pretty quickly.
vintages of 21.
You want
strawberry
us to
rhubarb that
answer this
nobody
quickly? Is that the suggestion?
No, actually, never mind. You go on. You do. I can answer this question in the
Well,
audience.
what's
I
the
think.
question? I want to know
I think
now.
I can.
You brought it
So
up.
it's a question from Greg Farley. He's saying, why can't you put an age on fruit wine?
The TTB, the federal government...
You write to the TTB
question.
and
They
ask
will
them that
not.
question.
The TTB will not allow fruit wine to carry a vintage, and that is something that before I die will change. I promise you that. So,
Here, here.
Wow.
We're working on that.
we're actually
You know,
members of the.
it's pretty cool
the
because he probably better stay off his motorcycle now because he can't die. And, you know, so,
it's not gonna. You don't have to worry.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point. We'll talk amongst ourselves.
We'll work on that.
be careful.
So,
We're,
So, yeah.
we recently became members of Wine America, and there are others out there in the world, in the world making fruit wine that are champions of this concept as well.
Yeah.
And Wine America is willing to take this issue on with us, and they're an advocacy, they're a lobbyist group that help lobby for industry needs, and we will make this change.
Great. That'll be
Oh, you guys clean your glass and
yeah.
pour some of this
All right,
in.
we've got 6
This is-
minutes left for dessert.
this
Matt
is-
is Matt
this
is
is-
crying
Oh,
over
we're having
there.
dessert
This,
now.
this isn't dessert. This is just
Where's the chocolate?
no need chocolate.
We didn't bring chocolate.
We
We
don't
have
need
dessert
chocolate.
wine,
I don't think
and we
this
don't.
one
need
needs.
no
I
stinking
don't think this
chocolate.
one needs chocolate quite as much.
Is this a
I
rinse?
love the way this wine brings out all these different characteristics of aromas out of a single fruit.
What year is this?
19.
2019.
Really happy about this vintage because this sat for 2 years in the barrel, not getting topped off, so it gets oxidized, which thanks to Chuck discovering that in his fridge years ago.
yeah, I'm a famous researcher. and
Yeah, it's interesting
Famous
because
researchers.
generally oxidation that's
Is
bad.
bad.
That's not what you want. It's oxygen is your enemy. But with this
Although,
one,
although with wines with higher alcohol and higher sugar absorb oxygen more slowly.
so then here's a question. So I generally tell people, I have sort of in my head sort of the not shelf life, but once you've opened a bottle of all of our wines, how many days you would want to drink it within. It's a little less with I think some of our heavier reds, a few days versus the rosé. The rosés I think last closer maybe to a week, whereas the dessert wines I usually tell people about a month. Maybe, but
I
now
don't think they would go that long.
no, maybe not quite that long. But now, if you had a bottle of Deep Blue and you opened it and you left it for a month or a couple months, would it go bad or would it just turn into Deep Blue Reserve?
It wouldn't be the same as if you opened up a fresh bottle. So
And that
it wouldn't-
actually-
It wouldn't taste like this. And just like, you know from the slow months when we open a bottle of wine and we're pouring it and we date the back of the bottle so that we know, and we test those bottles every morning
Yep.
to make sure we're pouring proper tasting wine to everybody who walks in the shop, that some of the wines last a few days.
Yep.
And then they're done, especially if there's only a little bit of wine left in a bottle.
Right, yeah.
There's no use saving that. Just drink that. There's all this air in there.
It's
gonna go
really
bad.
hard working at Hermit Woods. Sometimes at the end of the night, we just have to finish those bottles. It's just horrible.
Well, that's how you become an expert.
You just gotta practice.
Work at it.
But it's true.
That's
So
why you're
those
in the
wines,
wine business.
It's not like they taste bad necessarily after that time.
Right,
They're just
lose,
different.
they start to get oxidized, they
Yep.
start to lose it. It's like you cut an apple open and it starts
Mm-hmm.
to turn brown. You can still bite that apple and eat that apple, but if you just scraped off that browned part of the apple and ate that, it wouldn't be as pleasant as the rest of the
Would
apple.
have a different flavor.
It has a different flavor.
It's more like a baked apple flavor.
And that flavor is changing within a day. It's changing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you really want to taste the wine as the winemaker would want you to taste it, you'd want to drink it
As
as
fresh as
close
possible.
to the
Yeah.
opening of the bottle as you can, give or take a few minutes or sometimes an hour or so for
And that's what's
aerating.
really fun, especially older wines.
Yeah.
And they evolve.
But you wouldn't want to evolve them over a day or two because they are going to change more drastically.
I
that
did do
way.
this, I did an experiment specifically on our regular deep blue. And I took a bottle and I opened it and I poured out so that I had about 3/4 of it left and a quarter open. Put a little evacuator and it pumped it out. And this was a really tough job. And then every other day,
You had to
I
drink some.
opened up a fresh bottle of deep blue and compared that to what was in
Oh,
the fridge.
cool. Tough research.
it
Again,
went out
it's so
about-
hard to do this job.
10, 12 days, the original one was still drinking.
But you were
But it
pumping the
wa-
air
but I
out.
Well, I was pumping the air out, but still, it wasn't the same as a fresh one. By 10 or 12 days, I'm going, nah, I would rather drink this fresh one that I just opened than this one. But if I didn't have the fresh one,
You might
I
not have known.
would have kept drinking it.
And you also, taking the air out is key because that does help preserve it. If you had just
Yeah.
left
And it was in the fridge.
open,
Anytime you cool something down and get rid of the oxygen, you're
Yeah.
going to help it survive. Right.
well, this is a great way to finish this show. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
fabulous.
This is it right
We
here.
have deep blue in the.
This is deep blue reserve.
And then we have deep blue as well. So what's the difference between the two?
One says reserve.
One says reserve.
That was a Chuck joke. Did you get it?
No.
One,
That was a good joke.
Was it good? Yeah, that was my
was
response
a
to some of your
boom.
jokes. That was just like, my response to some of his jokes. He just looked at me like,
so the deep blue
Classic.
is aged in stainless, correct?
so, these wines start off the same. Deep Blue Reserve. 100% wild blueberries. Some sugar is added during the fermentation to get the alcohol to go up as high as possible. And it generally gets in that 18% range. So it's a naturally high alcohol product. The Deep Blue product lives its life for about a year or so in a stainless steel tank with some toasted French oak staves in the tank. So I'm infusing that Deep Blue with some oak flavors and aromas, but it's not getting any of the micro-ox that a wine would get in a barrel. The Deep Blue Reserve gets transferred into a barrel. And it's put into a French oak barrel, and it's kept down in the cellar. And every couple of months or so, I go through and sample all the barrels. Most of the wine, the Red Scare, the Hermitage, the Lake House Red, those all get topped back up. So as the wine ages in the barrel, it's evaporating through the staves very slowly. I lose about a liter a month of wine out of the barrel. In 2011 or 2012, I was making regular Deep Blue. Deep Blue Reserve didn't exist. And I was transferring the wine downstairs, and I ended up with some leftover Deep Blue, which is very expensive to make. It's just pure blueberries. There's 2 pounds of blueberries in one of these.
2
little-
pounds?
Yeah, one of these little, a full pound in one of
Yeah,
these little bottles.
yeah.
And
You're going to say, oh no, I've been saying the wrong thing.
no, it's just 1 pound, sorry. So I saved some of this wine in a 1-gallon jug, and Chuck had just flown in from somewhere. I said, hey, Chuck, we just racked over this stuff. I had some extra Deep Blue. Do you want some? And you're like, oh, sure. But it's like half a gallon in a gallon jug of Deep Blue. That's a lot of wine. It's like 5 of these things. And so you drank some of it, and then you put the top back on it, didn't evacuate the air, and just shoved it in the back of the fridge and took off for Rome or Lima or wherever you were flying to.
For a month.
For a month. And then you came back, and you're like, oh boy, this thing in the back of the fridge, it's got to be toast now. It's not going to be good. And you poured it in your glass, and you're like, wow, this smells really good.
Yeah,
This
Tony
is
Tony
fantastic.
Port notes.
Like a port.
Hazelnut, all the nice stuff.
And all you said was, Ken, I think you ought to just explore, oxidizing this wine. And you poured some of that.
That sounds sophisticated. I think I had you come over and you helped me sample it, and you decided that this might be a good idea.
I don't know how it went.
Another
Just another one of
story
those
gone
things.
awry.
I don't even think I was there.
Yeah. We are a couple minutes over time, so we should probably
yeah.
do our wrap up
Yeah.
spiel. This has been great.
Wait, so I didn't get to finish on the Deep Blue Reserve. So in 2013,
Tell us the last bit of
was
Deep
the
Blue
very
Reserve.
first batch of this, and I used my favorite little 20-gallon barrel
Oh,
downstairs.
yeah.
One of those blue pieces of tape on that barrel says Deep Blue. And so I put Deep Blue, I didn't bottle all of it. Some of it I put in this little barrel, and I put a bung in it, and then I didn't top it off. And I just sampled, checked it, and I kept waiting for those magical tawny port things, and it wasn't happening. Month after month after month, it tastes like Deep Blue, Deep Blue, Deep Blue, Deep Blue. And I was like, wow, okay. And now it's got all these tawny port, dried fruit, raisin fig, all these unique flavors. I'm like, wow, well, that worked. Took 15 months in the little
15
barrel.
months in the little barrel. Wow.
And that was our 2013 vintage. And took it out, bottled it up. And then I've made it in 15, 17. 15 was the first year I experimented with a full-size barrel. That took 28 months.
Whew.
A larger barrel,
More.
Right.
different
Yeah, that makes
surface
sense.
Yep.
to volume
Yep.
than the small barrel.
Yeah.
And so it typically takes anywhere from 22 to 28 months for Deep Blue to turn into Deep Blue Reserve in a full-size barrel.
And just as a reference point, tawny port needs to be in an oak barrel for 3 years.
If you're making it in Portugal?
Yeah,
to
if
get-
you're making
Official,
a, if
official,
you're making a
real,
tawny
legitimate
port.
tawny port. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a similar,
Well, it's the same thing. They don't top the
Characteristics.
barrels. It's a high alcohol
Yep.
fortified
Yep.
wine
Yeah.
that is exposed through attrition through the barrel the same way that.
for 3 years, yeah.
3 years, yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Nope,
Do you,
nope.
Nope. I err.
this one, I love on the
Yeah.
tasting money. I always recommend that people choose at least one of the dessert wines. It's just such a nice way to top off the tasting, and
Plus you get chocolate.
plus you get chocolate. Yeah, oh, so nice
I could
to finish.
go on because there's a whole Solera,
There's so much.
Solera thing. that goes
But
on
we
there,
shouldn't,
too, but-
we're at the end.
Yeah,
We're
we're
over.
over.
Next
I'm
time.
so glad we had a
So-
great crowd
Next
joining us
right.
today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
So,
yes.
Now next week we are all traveling next week, so we'll certainly
Where are we going to
present-
go?
You'll see.
We're
Where
going
are
to
we
surprise
gonna-
everybody
We'll
from,
be out and
see,
about
if you were
next year.
subscribed to our channel, you will know, because
You
you
will
will see
know.
that we are live from a different place on this planet.
We'll be on the road
That's-
next week, but we'll definitely be presenting something
Where are we
at
gonna be?
5:30.
It's a secret. It's a surprise.
You'll have to tune
It's a
in to
secret.
find out where we are.
You'll have to tune in.
Aha.
You'll know next week at
There, we'll
5:30.
dangle that little
We'll dangle that
we'll
carrot out
dangle
there.
that glass of wine.
I
Yep.
hope I'm there.
All of
Or
us.
something
We're all
else.
gonna
Maybe
be
a
there.
pint.
We're going to be there?
All of us.
We'll be there?
There.
Maybe it won't be wine
There.
We're
next
going to
week.
be there.
We might be drinking
Oh,
something.
We're
oh,
going to be there somewhere.
you'll have to tune in to find out. See you next week live at 5:30 Monday night. We will surprise you. We will not be here, I promise you.
But thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers to everybody.
Cheers. We'll
night,
see you
all.
next Monday, I hope, in some strange location on the
Buttons and auto things. Okay,
my
hold
fault.
on. It's yeah, Bob's. Okay, here we go. Bye.
You get all the glory and you get all the blame
I
at
do.
times, you know?